Is my audio still good?
Yes, yours is good. How am I sounding for you?
You're sounding good.
Dope.
So, welcome to Let's Talk About Anything. We're both so excited to be here. To start off with, we're
Absolutely.
going to give you our names so that you know who's talking and get to know us a little bit. So, first off, I'm Casey. My pronouns are she, her, and I'm 22. And Rose, go ahead.
Hello. I am Rose. I go by the pronouns she, her, and I am 21 as well.
Mm-hmm. So, that's just a little bit about us. You're going to find out more about us as we continue the podcast and, talk about anything. So, I wanted to give you guys a little bit of an introduction about what the podcast is supposed to be, why we created it, and the sorts of things that we're going to be talking about on here before we get started. So, LTAA, Let's Talk About Anything, is basically like an all inclusive podcast where we talk about anything. So we brainstormed it a little while ago and created it to become this kind of creative outlet for us to talk about the things that are like taboo or the things that you don't want to talk about with your friends. Like sometimes it might be hard to talk about them in person, um, stuff like that. And for both of us, since we're so like we're young, but we're getting into the workforce, sometimes it's easy to lose your personality in order to become this like model adult and to, fit into the mold that your job is putting you into, especially if you're like in a high visibility role.
Yes.
So I just wanted to talk about that a little bit and, just to keep us all sane, because I feel like as you get older, you stop talking about things with other people, and sometimes it can make you feel alone. So overall,
Yes.
it's just right. Go ahead, Rose, if you want to add a little bit to
Yeah,
that.
absolutely. I think it's really important to as our generation and especially younger ones, I feel, just to keep that genuine connection a thing and that communication. Because I feel like when you can hide behind social media or you can have a lot of different things kind of in the way, especially now where we can't see each other as much. Um, because it's not as safe. I feel like it's just important to keep the conversations flowing and open and to not shy away from the really important things that we should be talking about, you know?
Right, for sure. And then you also said something about social media, which I wanted to also touch on. With our generation and people who are younger than us, social media is kind of a big thing for a lot of people for communicating with their friends who live far away from them, showing off, your personality and just making yourself feel good about yourself. And I feel like a lot of times with social media, you can kind of get into these traps as you get into the workforce and as you grow up to become an adult where people are like, "Oh, you need to stop acting that way," or, "You need to shape up and become a real adult." And I think it's
Yeah.
just really important to, like, talk about how you shouldn't have to lose your youth and personality to fit someone else's mold. So those are the major reasons for creating this podcast, and, I
Mm,
hope that you guys enjoy the things that we're gonna be talking about.
yes,
Um,
yes. I
yeah,
think we have a lot of really cool specific things that we're going to talk about that um, me and Casey will take in so many different directions. And I think it's going to be a positive thing because we tend to, um, you know,
we
wow,
have we have a
it's
little
just,
bit. Sometimes
we
we
got a
have
little bit of
differing
everything.
Right, we have a little bit of everything. Sometimes we don't have the same opinions, but I think that's gonna work to our strengths here.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Show a little bit of perspective. So anyway, that's a little bit about what LTAA is supposed to be for us, and hopefully you guys see it that way too. Um, but there is two other things that I wanted to talk about before we get into today's episode, and the first thing is sound quality. Um, we are not able to record in person for a few different reasons. Mainly, because of COVID. That's the big one.
Yeah.
We were planning on recording in person, but there were some hurdles, things that came up. So now we are actually using Discord instead. But I think it's working out well. My only concern is that the audio quality isn't going to be as good as I wanted, and um I have an apartment that I normally stay in, but I'm actually home visiting for the holidays at the moment. And I'm like in a little basement bedroom, and my entire family's home. So I just wanted to talk about audio quality before we got started. And, hopefully in the future it's going to improve.
Yes, yes.
Hmm.
And we have plans for that to improve as well. So we're
Yeah,
not just saying that.
right. We're really fortunate enough to have an income to afford some technology to help us improve our audio quality, which is really, really nice. And right, we have a lot of plans for improving it in the future. So
Uh,
after these first few episodes that we're going to be recording today, it will get better. So please hold out for that. If you think the audio quality is not up to par, it's going to get better.
yes, we will glow up, I promise.
For sure. Okay, and so the last thing I want to talk about before we actually get into like the meat of the episode is social media. Um, our social media platforms, we actually started growing our social media presence before this episode came out, just to try and get some people maybe like hooked or invested in what we're going to be talking about. And I just wanted to say, I run the Instagram account and we have over 50 followers right now, which is so cool
Blows my
because
mind.
right? I
It
have no
sounds
idea how that
so
happened.
I know. It sounds so small, in, perspective, I guess, but when you think about it,
Right, if you think
we
about how
did
many
no promotion, like,
none.
no promotion, no anything, so, like, that's huge for us, just to
Right,
have some people, like, paying attention and looking, before we even have any content out,
right, and I
we're
just, like
very thankful for that.
oh, for sure, and it's just, like, it's crazy to me because the only thing that I've been doing to, like, get our posts out there is using, like, hashtags, and that's about it.
Mhm.
I'm not, like, posting this anywhere else, like,
Yeah,
there's no
yeah.
other platform, and, it's really cool because when we first started getting followers, I was like, "Oh, it's just bots, whatever," but I
Yeah,
was scrolling through the follower list, actually this morning, getting ready for this recording,
mhm.
and, like a majority of our followers are other small podcasters, and it's really cool because I've been checking out like your guys's um profiles and Instagram pages, and I've been going to Spotify or YouTube or whatever your platform is, and I've been like listening in on a couple of your more recent episodes, and it's just like, it's really awesome being kind of included in the community before even our first episode is out. And I hope you
Yes,
guys like don't
yeah.
regret following us
Yes.
before we even put out an episode, but I mean, I've been so excited about it, like it's blowing my mind.
Me as well. I'm so hype. I'm also in the process currently of making a Twitter for us. Because I feel like Twitter is my favorite bullshit app. I think it's a tie between Twitter and TikTok, but it's my favorite bullshit app just to like talk about anything, almost like this podcast.
Uh-huh.
So I wanted to get our us out in that atmosphere as well. Um, so I'm really hyped about the attention that we've gotten so far.
Like, So I run the Instagram because I have no idea how Twitter works at all. So I was like, "Hey Rose, like take over Twitter, please. I have no idea. I can't figure that app out. Like I'm an old woman at this point." But um we are uploading our podcast to YouTube for a couple of different reasons. We chose that platform, one, because it's familiar to the both of us. Two, because oh, the audio is cracking. Okay. We're
Mhm.
gonna take a pause and see if we can fix the audio.
Mhm.
Rose, can you let me know
It's
how
still
it sounds?
cracking.
It's still crackling? Okay.
Yeah.
I will talk about YouTube in a minute. I'm going to freeze my thing and then come back on.
Okay.
Okay, how's that now?
Much better.
Much
There we go.
better?
Yeah.
Okay, I might have to
There
do
you
that. So, we're still figuring it out, but, I think it gives us a little bit of personality and
go.
charm.
Yes.
We're
Yes.
real people, we have technical difficulties too. Um,
Absolutely.
anyway, what I was saying about YouTube, like, we picked that platform on purpose because it's, like, it's familiar to the both of us, and, I like YouTube because it has comments, and I like interacting with people so that they
Yes.
can, like, put their input in and, if you guys are interested in hearing more about what we have to say about certain things, you can, write a comment and say, "Hey, guys, can you talk about this in the next episode?" And, maybe we will at some point. But we will have our social media linked into the description of the videos once they're up.
Absolutely.
Okay. So that's all I had on the outline for the introduction. It was a little bit of a longer one, but it's the first episode. So,
Mhm.
without further ado, we're going to get into our episode. Rose, would you like to introduce it?
Absolutely. So today, we are going to be talking about romantic identities, sexual identities. Um, we're going to talk about gender specifically, sexuality specifically, and also a little bit about how it correlates with us personally. Um, so yeah.
Okay,
um,
so if you
Casey,
want, I can take over on this
yes,
first
please.
topic because I wrote it in the outline.
Yes.
The first little bullet point that we have in our outline is romantic identity versus sexual identity, um, and how they can be different. So this is something that's a little bit new to me. Um, I recently discovered a little bit about myself, and I think um, and we're also gonna be talking about labels later too, so, that'll be interesting. I'm not entirely into labels, but if I were to label myself, I think I'm, like, pan-romantic, but I'm still, like, heterosexual. So, what that means is that, like, in terms of, like, romantic, like, dating someone, I probably would date anybody who, like, is attractive to me. But if you're thinking about it, like, in terms of sexuality, I'm really only attracted to men.
Ah,
And
yes.
it's interesting because, um, I guess I'm still a little bit new to the community, because I
Yeah.
don't really know too much, but I wasn't aware that your romantic identity could be different than your sexual identity until this year, 2020. And
Yes.
I found that out through my GSA group, which was really helpful.
I was unaware of that. That's very interesting. That you
Yeah,
just
and
like found that out through them. That's really great.
yeah, I was like, "Oh, this is actually really cool." And it's kind of like in the same vein, like if you know someone who is maybe like I guess I'm still a little fuzzy on like terminology, but
That's
if you
fine.
would
That's fine.
say you would like date someone of the same gender, or if you would date someone of the opposite gender, or like if you're demi or something like that,
Mhm.
but you are like asexual, so those two identities are separate. Your dating life is separate from your like sexual life. Like, does that make sense?
Yes, yes, absolutely. I think that's really important. I mean, if you think about it, I feel like I've had some friends who have been transgender, and they constantly get the question of um, what gender they like, um, in the sense of dating and romantically. Um, and it's really hard because people tend to clash those things. So that I don't know how I'm trying to explain this right now.
Oh, I totally understand what you're saying because, like, people who kind of, like, maybe they grew up not understanding terminology or what things mean or, people who are unfortunately just, like, ignorant and bigoted don't really
Yeah.
understand what, like, gender identity means, so to
Yes.
them, like, if you are, I don't really like the term identify as, but I think it would be helpful in terms of, like, clarifying this conversation. But if you
Yeah,
identify
yeah.
as, like, male, um, but people who are confused by your identity maybe,
Mhm.
see you as female, unfortunately, and
Assume
you
to think the
are
opposite.
right, and then you say that you're straight because you're interested in women. People are like, "Well, how does that make you straight because you're a girl and you're
Yes.
interested in
Yes.
women?"
Yes.
Yeah, no, I see what you're saying there, and I
Yeah.
think it's really important that those, like all 3 of these things are, like they're closely related, but they
But that
don't
doesn't mean
have
they
to
depend
be
on each other.
right, they don't have to all be linked. Like, they can be
Yeah.
for sure, but they don't all
Yeah.
have to
Yeah.
be.
Yes. And
Mhm.
that's I think that was what I was trying to get out at that story is um that was the first scenario where I really saw it. Because I don't know, I just always I mean, for one, a label for me was a struggle for a while. But taking it to the next level it is I think comparing or not comparing, but understanding the difference between romantic identity and sexual identity and how it goes very deep rooted, you know?
Right, and I'm thinking back to, like, my psychology courses that I took in high school and in college, correlation doesn't always mean causation, so they're very close-knit, but they're not always, like, overlapping, you know?
Yes. Absolutely.
So, um, yeah, it's so this is something that clearly neither of us are an expert in, um again, I'm, like, really still very new to the community as an individual, like, for years and years, I would have considered myself an ally,
Absolutely.
but now I'm thinking, "Oh, maybe I'm part of the community."
Yes.
So I'm,
And
like,
that's
super new.
yeah, but that's also something really good to point out is that you're um just now realizing these things. And that's okay. That's completely okay to think that you were one thing for a really long time or maybe if you're questioning for a long time. Whatever that however you feel is valid and your sexuality is something that is allowed to be fluid and allowed to be you know evolutionary.
Mhm,
um
100%.
and just acknowledging that that's okay because for me I was scared for a really long time because I originally came out as bisexual,
Mhm,
which is something that I still agree on, but I, further realized I don't really mind who it is as long as I love them, I love them.
mhm,
Um, and it doesn't matter what genitalia they have or what identity they go with. It just if I love them, I love them. And that sticks more towards pansexuality. And for a long time, I didn't even know what that was.
Yeah.
Um, not I was just like, "Oh, I didn't know there was an actual thing that kinda," but that's not the case. While because I felt like, "Oh, crap, like, I already came out," or will I feel like less of a, um, like like, it was just, like, a lot of those thoughts, like, "Oh, believe me," um, or "It's gonna
And
look
it's
really
like,
bad for
am
everyone else." Those things that are constantly in your head, but, like, it's okay, like, you can be whatever and whoever you are comfortably,
eg mhm.
even if whoever you are, and having to embrace that, I feel like,
Yeah,
fluidity,
for sure.
but it's not negative, and I think that's something that should really be,
I feel if I'm less of a gay person for changing what my we are people, and
yes.
it's ever, um people change their minds, people learn about themselves every day, and
Yeah.
it's the same thing, you're still discovering yourself, and a lot of the times people are young or they're put into boxes by other people, and you're like, "I guess that's right," but sometimes you might not think for yourself in a way, that sounds, like, weird, but I don't know if you understand what I'm saying, but
No, I agree completely. I feel like
Mhm.
it's something that, like, your age doesn't matter, where you are in life doesn't matter, like, just to, be present, you know? Like, like I said, I struggled for a really, really long time feeling like, "Oh, like, is it fake of me to do that?" And all that
Yes.
kind of thing, but, like, self-identity is self-identity, and, like,
Right.
I
Nobody
just
can tell you that it's wrong.
no, absolutely not, and, if they don't abide with how you truly feel, then maybe
They
they're
are
not.
wrong.
Yeah, like, there's not like, you can't say that someone's wrong for being who they are, you know?
Exactly, and
Um,
that was my second point is, like, kind of like the imposter syndrome is, like, setting in where you're like, "Oh my god, am I doing this because it's trendy?" Or, like,
yes.
"Am I faking this?"
Um,
'Cause that's how I felt for a really long time about, like, my romantic identity, and I was like, oh my god, am I doing this because, like, everyone else in my friend circle is gay?" And I'm like, "I don't know, like, am I faking it to fit in?" And I'm like,
no,
"No, I'm
I
not
understand
faking
that.
it," like
Yeah, yeah,
sometimes we get into our own heads and, your own identity is your own identity. Nobody can say it's wrong or bad. I mean, they can say it's wrong or bad, but they're not right
yeah,
about it.
yeah. Verbally, they can say it, morally, no, they can't.
Right. Right. Yeah, and I think that actually brings us, like, pretty smoothly into the next thing that's on our outline, which is talking all about, like, terminology and, like, why words can be confusing, why they matter, and, like, sometimes why they don't matter,
Yes,
because
yes,
I think you
yeah,
mentioned earlier about, I think we both mentioned earlier actually about how, sometimes labels don't work. Sometimes they
yeah,
just don't.
yes. No, that's very true. Well, for me, I feel like, in my own personal experience, I was aware of the LGBT community, like, growing up, but I never really, I don't know, you don't it's not something that people really are like, "Oh, study every single word." Like, it's just one of those things that, you kind of learn as you go and with who's in your life and stuff such. So I feel like
Exactly.
I was very fortunate to have a lot of LGBT friends very, very young, like starting at 13 years old.
Right,
Um,
like when we were in middle school, and I'm pretty sure what happened in middle school was like people were Discord
you're
notifications.
cracking again.
Oh, am I cracking again? I just got
Yeah,
a Discord notification, so I think that messed me
that
up a
might
little
be
bit.
it. Yeah,
Okay,
that
hold
might
up. Let me leave and come back and we'll
you're good, you're good.
continue.
Um,
How am I sounding now?
talk a little bit more.
Talk a little bit more. How am I sounding?
Yeah, yeah, you're good, you're good.
Better? Okay. So that's something we're learning about Discord is that if you get notifications, it's gonna mess up your audio a little bit. So I'm just gonna like real quick mute this server.
Yeah, go for it. Go.
Okay. Um,
Was it a server I'm in?
yeah, it was the one we were in last night.
Okay, okay, I'm gonna mute it real
So if
fast.
you right click on the server,
Yeah, 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 I got it.
cool. Again,
Okay,
this
okay,
is just
we're good.
showing you guys that we're real people.
We do be doing the same things you do.
Yeah. Um, dude, I don't what were
It's
we
okay.
talking about?
We were talking about um finding
Oh, we were
terminology,
talking about
terminology.
GSA in middle
Yeah,
school.
yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah, no, what I
Um,
was saying is, like, you said how fortunate you were to have a lot of, like, people, our own age in the community
yeah,
experiencing things for the first time and, like, being our support group 'cause, we've said it before on social media, but Rose and I have been friends since we were, like, what, 9 years old? It's been a while.
yes.
Yeah, we've been
9
friends
years
for
old. Literally, like, over a decade, I'm
over
pretty
a decade. We've
positive.
been friends for a really long time and,
Yeah,
we went to the same schools, most of our childhood and,
yeah,
so in middle school, we both discovered GSA. I think I discovered it first and I was like, "Hey, you
yeah,
should come into this club, like, the people are so nice and I'm
mhm.
learning a lot," and, I'm pretty sure nobody in our friend group is straight, like, strictly straight.
Deadass, like, no.
But that helped us learn a lot about ourselves and we had such a great support group within ourselves and fortunately we had a really good support with adults
Yeah,
and
yeah,
older people who could help us if we were struggling within the middle school and the high school.
yeah, yeah.
Um
There were so many allies, amazing, amazing people.
And that goes again back to our topic of terminology. It helped us
Yes,
learn a lot about like the words that are being used. But now that I'm thinking about it, like as much as you can learn about the terminology, words are always changing. Like,
yes, yes. And, like, as you said, like, words are always changing. With fluidity, sometimes people are changing pronouns or um their overall gender identity and like
and
a
their
ton of different
names
things.
and things,
Their
yeah.
names. So like things are always changing and I feel like as long as it's communicated in a positive way, that's what matters.
Right.
Um
As long as you're using words that are not offensive to the individual. I think we were actually talking about this in like a personal conversation a couple of weeks ago about the word queer
yes.
and how, for example, I personally don't think that word is offensive because I use it to identify myself.
Yeah, yeah.
But some other people within the community do think that word is offensive, and it's
Mhm.
really up to individuals to, like you said, Rose, communicate with each other and figure out which words you should be using, which words you shouldn't be using,
Yes,
um,
yes.
with the people that you talk about. Because, like, with cancel culture, if you say the wrong word, even by accident,
Yeah,
um, it could be it can be a mess. So sometimes like words are so important. It's really
Mhm.
important to be able to talk to other people about who you are, how you identify,
Yeah.
and the things that make you you, but also in a way words are not important and they shouldn't like dictate how you live your life.
Yes, and I think it's really important at the end of the day for me, like, if I'm in a situation and I am, um, either undereducated in the topic or, educated in the topic, ask questions. Just
For
ask
sure.
questions. I have never met, um, an LGBTQ person who wasn't willing to communicate if someone had a question. Like, as long as you are respectful
Right.
and as long as you are honest, like, I will straight up say, "I'm not really positive what that means. Like, could you please elaborate it for me so that I
Mhm.
can further understand and not disrespect you along the way, as I'm learning?"
And
Um,
that goes along with like um intersectionality because I am not white.
yeah,
And sometimes that's like in the same vein for like people of color. Ask questions, and this goes for both people of color and people within the LGBTQ community. Feel free to ask questions, be kind about asking questions, but just realize that people within those communities and those groups are not there to be your teachers though.
yes, yeah,
um there is in this day and age, there is so much information that's out there, and of course, some of it can be incorrect. So it's really important to like view your sources and see where the information is coming from. But you can educate yourself without, putting someone in a really uncomfortable situation or like only depending on one person to tell you what the
that's
answer is.
very,
Because
very true.
again, not everybody sees things the same way. People are all different, and it's really important not to like depend on one specific individual for all of your questions.
Yeah, I agree with that. I feel like it's really good to remember that they're also human. They have a life, they have other things contributing, and they might be struggling with something that you're talking about. So it's just good to remember boundaries, good to remember that respect is key. Um and just communicate. I
Yes.
feel like when I've been in uncomfortable situations, where I felt I was undereducated, I have reached out to for sure.
Oh yeah,
Like, no
definitely.
doubt,
Like,
no doubt.
right,
And
there's
knowing
nothing wrong. Wait, I think you said my other name.
oh, fuck! Damn
Okay.
it!
Wait,
Okay,
bleep that out, bleep it out. I'm gonna
bleep
bleep
it
it
out,
out
bleep
in
it out.
post. I'm
Okay,
bleeping it out in post. Okay.
okay.
Since that just happened, I do want to address that before we continue the conversation because I don't think I want to cut that part out because you were talking about some really important things.
Yeah.
Um, so in this age of like faceless YouTubers and stuff like that, Rose and I have decided that we wanted to be faceless because of the jobs that we are going into, specifically me.
Mm.
Not that we're going to be talking about anything that's like offensive or like bad or
Yeah,
anything.
no,
It's just
never.
I am going into early education, and if you know anything about that field, the second that I say something that's disagreeable for a parent, I could lose my job.
Yeah.
And that's what I was talking about in the introduction of this episode. We're as young people, you know, we're going into work with a whole different mindset than our parents had, than our grandparents had, and those are the people who are running the businesses right now.
Yes.
And I don't think I should have to sacrifice myself or my personality for the sake of a job,
Mhm.
but I do realize how it works. Which is why we both wanted to be like faceless.
Yeah.
So if you're wondering what that whole little blip was about, Rose said my actual name, and I'm gonna bleep it out. But I do go by Casey. It's okay. It's first episode. No big deal.
I was just so into it. I apologize.
No. It's all good. I'll bleep it out. It'll be fun. Um,
True.
okay. And then we got that out of the way, so we're all good.
Yeah, right. What was
Oh,
it?
I don't. Oh, we were talking about
Work.
boundaries,
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
and that flows really, really well
Into
into our next bullet point,
it.
which is about, respecting people during the holidays. And this holidays hopefully, is going to look different. You probably shouldn't be visiting extended family members because of COVID and, being safe. The holidays are probably going to look a little bit different for a lot of people this year. But
Hopefully.
I think we really need to talk about holidays in general and how we approach family members and friends regarding gender and sexuality and romantic identity.
Yes. I agree completely. I feel like I want to talk about a story of mine. Um,
Oh, have I heard this story before?
Probably.
Okay.
So I'm just on the topic of holidays and all. Um,
Oh boy, I'm kind of afraid,
uh,
but go ahead.
Basically, baby gay Rose, um,
Okay.
decided it was a really great idea to bring a very, uh, questionable, I don't wait, you need to oh my god, okay.
Okay.
Basically, baby gay
I
Rose,
okay, yeah.
decided that it was a really great idea to bring, a significant other home, a few years ago. And, but prior to that, I really did not prep my family, um, and I definitely should have, but
Oh
I
boy.
was just like, I'm gonna post on social media and tell the rest of my family, and
Oh.
then by the holiday, I will have my significant other here. And it kind of shook a lot of people. um and so going through that kind of helped me realize like the just the importance of communication of your sexuality and gender identity during the holidays because I lacked it a lot and I think it would have made the situation a lot different if I would have communicated.
It
Um
probably I honestly, I don't know what year you're talking about or who you're talking about, but, do I know who you're talking about?
that's so bad. Yes. But it's okay.
For
It's okay.
okay.
It's okay.
I'll have to think about that later.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um, anyway, what I was gonna say, like, communicating that probably would have made your significant other feel more comfortable as well because, going back to me being a person of color, I am, Afro Latina and, my boyfriend is white. And I love him and his entire family. They're amazing people, but he didn't tell, like, his family that I wasn't white before I had gone to their, um, Thanksgiving.
Mhm.
So, they weren't rude about it, but I did know that they were a little surprised,
Yeah, yeah,
you
yeah.
know? So, like, communicating that, probably would have made your significant other feel a little bit better, but at the same time, um,
It's
I
hard, it's hard.
right,
I
no,
was
I think
terrified the whole time, like, I
no,
was
I
terrified,
understand.
and I think that's why I like to talk about that situation
Oh,
now.
for sure, and at the
Um
same time, though, and this is, again, every family is different, and you have to figure out what is best for you,
Yeah.
but at the same time, it's important to know that, like, for parents, this is specifically for parents. Continue that.
Let's do an audio check. Hello? Oh, okay.
Okay. Am I
What
back?
happened? Yeah,
I
hello.
don't know. I saw that I was muted.
I was just like, did you hear me say, "Can we do an audio check?"
Yeah, I heard you. I don't know what's
Okay,
happening on my end, but it's
okay.
okay. What was the last thing I said?
You were talking about, we were talking about going home to the situation, and then
Okay.
we were
I'll just
talking
start over
about,
for like my
yeah,
point from the beginning.
yeah,
I was
yeah.
talking about parents and guardians of
Right.
people.
Oh, right. That's what you're gonna say. I'm sorry.
Okay.
My bad.
No, that's
It
okay.
was so brief, so I was like, "What?"
No, you're good. So my thing is if you're a parent or guardian of a young adult who is or a teenager who is like bringing a significant other home for the holidays,
You're choppy
you
again.
I'm choppy again.
Yeah.
Oh no. Okay. You know what? Fourth time's the charm. Hold up. Okay. How am I?
Better.
Better. Okay. Let's keep rolling. Okay.
Yeah, let's keep
Um
going.
as an adult, it's your job to make your child feel comfortable and their significant other feel comfortable if you're inviting them into your home for the holidays. And um, you know, you need as an individual, you need to know whether or not it's safe to bring your significant other to your home first of all.
Yes, I
Because
agree completely.
unfortunately for some people it isn't safe and you need to think about that.
Mhm.
And like Rose said, you can't like just surprise your family sometimes.
Yeah.
Um, but on the other hand, if you're an adult and you're inviting someone into your home, you need to be respectful to that other person. And at the same time, you don't you as the individual don't have to be forced or you at least you shouldn't. In some households you might have to, but you shouldn't be forced to like come out to your entire family before you bring someone home. It should be accepted.
Yes, I agree completely.
And like I said, unfortunately, it's not like that in every household, but hopefully as, oh my gosh, the thing I'm about to say makes me sound really old. As we our generation as we become parents, I'm hoping that that situation is going to get better.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
Um,
I think it really, really will, and I feel like also, like, in my situation, um, I was kind of pushed to the situation, not in a negative way, but it was, very sporadic. I was not aware that my significant other was going to come for the holidays until
oh,
maybe, like, 2 weeks earlier.
I don't
Um,
know who you're talking about.
I'll elaborate later, but,
Okay, okay.
uh, but so it was very sporadic, and it was one of those situations where I really wanted them to be there.
Right.
So
Understandable.
it was going to happen, but I had to kind of force feed my family, "Hey, I'm gay. Also bringing a girl home this year in
Yeah.
about a week." So, it was just very chaotic, but at the end of the day, I am very thankful for my family. I only had one, uh, yeah, 1 or 2 negative, interactions, and luckily, I am so at that point, even though I was coming out to my extended family, I've been out to my home family for a very long time. Um, so I was very comfortable in my sexuality, so it really helped me to kinda defer those negative, situations that I was put into, but it's not always that way, like Casey said, like, you need to know that it's going to be a safe atmosphere because if it's not, like, that can go very negatively very, fast.
And you just reminded me of something that I'm thinking about for me personally, but for also for people who are pan or bi.
Mhm.
Um, there's a lot of like erasure sometimes that happens. And like I said earlier in the episode, I have a boyfriend, so though I identify as pan-romantic, I look very, like, heterosexual to a lot of people,
Mm,
and I think it's important for people, like, if, obviously, sometimes we just don't stay with our significant other for a really long time, so it's important that you communicate with your family, like, "Oh, if one year I bring home a girl and then the next year I bring home a guy," like, not to be like, "Oh, I'm magically straight," like, you have to be able to
yeah.
communicate that, and your family should respect it.
Yes.
Mhm.
Also, just don't assume things. Don't
Yes.
assume someone's gender. Don't assume someone's um, ethnicity. Don't assume any of those things because it's just you look stupid.
You look dumb, right?
I'm
You look
not gonna
dumb.
I'm not gonna like flex and say like you guys are stupid, but like no, like you literally just look so lame. So just don't be that person. Ask a question before you're gonna assume the answer.
Right.
Um and
And also
put
for
yourself in their
people.
shoes. Put yourself in their shoes, you know?
Right,
Like
right.
you
And and
gotta
and
do
for
it.
people, this is something that, like, I wanna apologize for if I've been, like, doing this, but, I need to remember, instead of saying, like, girls and guys, like, also to include our non-binary folk.
Girls, gays, and
So
honeys.
yes, there we go. And, also communicate with your family ahead of time, like, if you know you're bringing someone over and they don't identify as a woman or a man and they have different pronouns, please, please, please prep your family or whoever's going to be there so that, I
Yeah.
mean, like, I feel like this is obvious, but I feel like some people might not know, but, like, you need to prep people so that they can say the right name, first of all, and the right pronouns.
Yes.
So, like, if you're not using, she, her, or he, him pronouns, for some reason, I don't understand this, but for some reason, some people struggle with they, them pronouns, prep them, or
Yeah.
like, um, my one friend, goes by mix, which is a gender neutral term as like Mr. or Mrs.
Okay.
So, like, it's important to just, like, make sure
Yeah.
you communicate that to everybody who's supposed to be at that holiday party.
Yes. Yes. And also don't be afraid to maybe not go if there are conflicts, you know?
For
Um,
sure.
I know it's really hard because, well, any other year, like if you were getting together with your family, I know
Right.
it's hard to feel excluded, but if you feel that you're going to be excluded when you're even there, sometimes you got to do what's best for you. If your family is not supportive and you have a significant other and a family who is really supportive, then choose to go that way this year, you know? Like, just
Definitely.
really take care of yourself first. I think that's really important during the holidays because holidays are hard for a lot of people.
Right.
They're very positive as well, but they're hard for a lot of people too. So,
Mhm.
just to remember to take care of yourself during the holidays, you know. Um,
Respect other people's boundaries, respect yourself.
Yes, yes. Respect yourself. Respect yourself.
Yes. Alright. Well, I don't think I have anything else to add. What about you?
Yeah, I think we touched on a little bit of everything and I'm very proud of what we've accomplished today.
Me too. I think this was a great first episode. It felt like, okay, so neither of us have done a podcast before, so I was a little bit nervous about how it was gonna go, but we sound pretty
Yeah.
natural, I think. It felt good.
Yeah, yeah. So let us know how you're feeling about it. Yeah, please, if you're seeing this, if you're hearing this, give a like,
Sure. Follow
and
our, social
comment.
media.
Follow our social media. Um,
Share it with
and
your
we
friends.
yes, share it with your friends. If you have any comments, concerns, questions, let us know. We I believe we'll have our DMs open on everything. If there are anything,
Sure.
um, any way to reach us, you can do
Right,
that.
and if
Um,
you have a question that's specific to, like, just one of us, that's okay, like, just a reminder, if you reach out through YouTube, like, if you comment on YouTube, we're both going to be monitoring that, but if you have a individual question, I'm running the Instagram and Rose is running the Twitter.
yes, yes. So
Mhm.
you can reach out to us on there specifically if need be. Um, and yeah, we're very excited to hear from you guys and hear your feedback.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
If you like this episode, we actually have a recording schedule that we would like to share with you guys before we go. This episode is going to be out on December 19th of 2020, which is different than the rest of our schedule because we had a plan and then, things happen. So we just wanted to
Life
get this out
happens.
as soon as possible. We've been so excited about it. This episode is deviating from our regular schedule. We will be
Yeah.
uploading on the first Saturday of every month on our YouTube channel starting next month in January. So, January 2nd will be our next episode, and we are actually going to be talking about making like realistic New Year's resolutions and, goals for yourself in a year that's looking a little uncertain.
Yes.
So
Absolutely.
our next episode will be out in January. So, subscribe to our YouTube channel, follow us on social media, keep up with us. We'd love to have some feedback and hear what you got to say.
Yes, and we will talk to you soon.
We will talk to you soon. Bye, guys.
Bye.